Okay, I had to pause watching the Emma Chamberlain podcast because I just noticed a discrepancy that may be considered an anomaly. It looks like, and we're going to find out pretty quickly here. So it looks like this is, let me just tell you before I use reference material what I've just seen. So last night I saw information on a new DARPA AI challenge, which they use these challenges to excite innovation in technology. Like they had a Spectrum challenge in 2019 to try to get people to come up with new ways. Excuse me, I got the hiccups. To try to get people to come up with new ways to fill the 5G spectrum. And I think they even did it like Battlefield type thing, but it's just supposed to be a way to get people to develop new technologies, basically. In that way, in the Spectrum analysis challenge, it was how can you get an algorithm to fill a space so that if you encounter difficulty in maintaining a connection, what kind of algorithm can you run to try to overcome that barrier, basically. And that's really useful for civilian application as well. It's just like, hey, if your computer has a card and your router is putting out Wi-Fi, but there's like obstructions or people moving around or even interference from cell phone or something like that, then you need to have an algorithm. You don't want to just waste all that signal and say, oh, sorry, we can't connect. No, you want to have an algorithm that can find a way around that and maybe even predict and model variable encounters so that you can maintain a connection. It's very simple, and when it's dialed in, it won't take much computation. That's why competitions like that are so important. And now what I'm looking at, and this one looks a little different. It looks like more of an initiative than an official challenge, but it'll probably become an official documented challenge if it's not already. It just looks like it was presented a little differently. In this one, it looks like it's for essentially what it looks like is like patching infrastructure. So like, let's say your architecture, you've got strings of code, right? But your architecture is potentially at risk due to how do we put it? I wouldn't necessarily put it as malware. It could potentially be due to malware. You might have a malware issue, but you also might just have it might just be that there are updates needed and that there are conflicting updates, and it causes errors in the code, and you need, or maybe let's say that there's a defragmentation error and you lose some of the core memory. I don't know, like there's various things that could happen that could cause this issue. Excuse me. I have to poop, but I have to finish what I'm saying first. So I have to go to my knees so that my butt won't be tempted to poop. Okay, and then I'm going to go finish what I'm saying. Okay, so then basically it looks like there's also this Chinese group, or not a group, but like it said something about discovering. It said something about there's a Chinese hacking methodology that's been discovered. Well, I'm not sure how you can discover that unless it's autonomous and it developed itself. But it looks like it was being promoted as a potential solution to this auto patch. That's what I would just call it. It's an auto patch initiative where it's supposed to, like, imagine, here's a good example. Here's a great example. Imagine that our genetics as humans keep getting damaged by the sun, and nowadays probably more so like the radiation from our phones and our computers and stuff like that, our tablets. So let's say we as humans are experiencing genetic deterioration at points, and our code is getting slightly damaged all the time, right? But let's say we could come up with a vaccine, not against a particular virus, but just something intelligent that can go into your system. It might even be buckyball oriented, like a C60 cymatic resonance, or something mRNA oriented, kind of like a COVID shot, but something that actually fucking works this time. But that's the basic idea, is that you would want to come up with some sort of mechanism to constantly repair these micro damages. Or if there's a macro damage, something that can assist in recompiling the data. And the main issue would be to be able to use machine learning so that the tool can correctly predict and assess what code is missing and what it should be. And I feel like that's really a good idea, because you could take, like, for example, Arch Linux, and you could take a bunch of use cases of, like, what kind of damage happens in this system, and then compare it, give it the information on how it occurs, and then allow the system to compare it to the original distribution. And that's a super useful tool. And yeah, you could also turn that around and use the same type of algorithm to cause damage if you just switch it from heal to hurt. Like if you machine learn it on what's the typical type of damage and what's the typical type of repair process and how can you undo that. So I could see why that would explain what I saw just now on the Google News, because I saw another mention of the same project. It said, like, let's see if it pulls up the same thing when I open it. Yeah, okay, so just refreshed. But basically what it said was, like, another reminder about the DARPA project. And it's like, okay, cool, presented as something awesome. And then, like, a few slides down, it says FBI offers $10 million bounty for information on Salt Typhoon hackers, or whatever it's called. It's like, wait, didn't I just read yesterday that the Salt Typhoon was being described as something that could be, like, useful for this DARPA initiative? But then when I finished thinking about it, I'm like, oh, it's because they're concerned that it could be used as a damaging tool as well. It's just ironic, though, because the NSA made Stuxnet. So what are people bitching about? You know, stop offering others information, money to give information about these people when you could just be paying these people not to attack you. Is that what you meant? Like, instead of paying me to find out who these people are and take them down, how about you guys just pay them directly and say, hey, how about we pay you, and instead of hurting us, you help us? I mean, that could work. If you have that 10 million, why don't you just do that instead? But anyway, the fucking program sounds sick. I just hope it doesn't get misused. Because if you can do that on a computer, thanks to modern technology, you might actually be able to come up with something good to help the human genome survive as well in this changing environment. Anyway, now I gotta go poop.